Welcome Pisces to your in-depth monthly horoscope for September 2024 for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. I'm going to share with you first of all some standout details to look out for, but please stay with me. Then on screen I'll share your event chart right at the start of the month. That always provides a lot of powerful information to guide us. As the days unfold and the influences change, I'll outline all of those and the exact timings. As ever, as we go into the new month, we do need to be mindful of your two ruling planets. Your traditional ruler is Jupiter, and your more modern ruler, Neptune, very much the aquatic part of the duo, are both very much in the mix as we come into September. But also Pluto, the planet of truth and transformation and consequences, inverts back into a part of your situation that's very future orientated. Also to do with your network, your alliances, but also your higher purpose. And it's there through to November the 19th. We've also got on the 3rd a new moon in your opposite sign. That really gives you a platform to set your intentions around relationships. So I'm excited to share that with you. But even more perhaps on the 4th, Mars, the planet of desire, moves into a very romantic part of your chart for 8 long weeks. That's very unusual. It's usually 6 and gives you an awesome opportunity to showcase yourself in a more dynamic way. But we do have in week 2 a tension between Saturn in your sign, which perhaps has been cramping your style somewhat since March 2023, and the Sun. So I need to explain the delicacy of that. But on the 9th, Mercury moves back into your sector of relating, and if things have felt brittle whilst it's been reversing back in Leo, then gone forwards from the 28th of August, now you get an opportunity to really get those lines of communication working much more clearly. The 11th gives you even more evidence of things improving in that regard. Now week 3 of this month sees an incredibly sparkling link between Uranus, the planet of change, and the Sun in your 7th house of relating. You could encounter someone completely different during that time, and it's important to try to be open to possibilities. Equally, in an existing relationship, you may want to bring some refreshment to things, but the lunar eclipse, which occurs in your sign on the 18th, is the first in a brand new series. It provides a backdrop of energy for the next 6 months, but critically, it's very close to Neptune. Now, Neptune is a very spiritual influence, but it can also be a very sensitive one. Having the Moon and Neptune so closely together, but in opposition to the Sun in your sector of relating, suggests that if there is a tie, an involvement, a partnership which is not working so well, this is something we need to take great care exploring. But the 22nd sees the autumnal equinox. The Sun dives deep. You don your proverbial detective's mat, turn up your collar. You want to understand not just what people are saying, but what they really mean, the subtext. This also ushers in the 3rd cardinal quadrant of the year. Western tropical astrology has 4 quarters of 13 weeks. This 13-week period could be good for business, could be good for property, could be good for evolving your psychological understanding, but it will take some work, some investment of energy. But on the 23rd, Venus moves into your sister water sign of Scorpio. Venus is very, very passionate here, but for you this is house 9. If there have been some signals that you've been finding it difficult to decipher, Venus will help you. But as the month draws to a close, it's a very business-like end to September, but terrific if you are trying to transact something, start a new enterprise, raise finance for something that you're excited about, whether it's an extension or a new enterprise. Please stay with me for more. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. If you are new to my channel, it's lovely to have your company. If you have any thoughts, please feel very welcome to share them. This is very much a community. Also, if you're a returning visitor, thank you so much for all your support. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please help it thrive by clicking that sub button, but also the bell notification symbol. I'm a consulting astrologer. If you'd like to talk to me one-to-one, please check out other people's experience by looking at my testimonials below. Finally, if you'd like to take advantage of my very special year 2025 transit forecast, you can get the rest of this year free if you order now, plus in my special package of 30% off your life roadmap report. This will give you searing insights into the patterns that have played out in your life so far, and the combination of the two is fantastic value and really will help to guide your moves over the next 18 months. Please see below for more. So Pisces, on the screen now, I'm sharing your event chart right at the start of the month. So let's first of all take a look at your two rulers. Neptune, right on the last degree in the sign of Pisces, the anaretic degree, is in an opposition with Venus. Now Venus is in your 8th house. That can be where we can be devoted in a romantic context, but it also can be where we can be invested. But Neptune creates a shimmering mirage. So if you are attracted to someone in a big way and you are finding it difficult to get the clarity, what you can do, ironically, is use the energy of Pluto, because as the month begins, it is just in Aquarius in its link to Venus to decipher what's really what. Also, Mars is in the part of your situation to do with your more emotional desires, and that's T-squaring the position of Neptune and Venus. So Neptune at the start of this month is asking you to be very realistic about resources, but also matters of intimacy. Now Jupiter, like Mars, is in your 4th house. So I feel over August it was making you perhaps more emotional about where you live, who you live with, and how, and perhaps created a degree of frustration if things weren't moving in terms of fulfilling your hopes in those regards. And of course, on the 19th of August, Saturn in your sign squared up exactly with Jupiter, but they're still broadly in a square as we go into this month. So both Saturn, in terms of impacting on your physical energy, can make your physical energy a bit lower, but anything to do with things that aren't quite right at home, you could be feeling that at the start of this month. Whereas Neptune, it's more about relationships or money, and it could be linked to a property matter if you're still waiting to get some clarity. However, Pluto returning to the sign of Capricorn later on the 1st of this month, is an opportunity to actually get in contact with what you really want from your long-term future. Because since the 21st of January, as it's trawled through the sign of Aquarius, you may have actually gained a lot of psychological insights, but Pluto moving back to house 11 can give you more desire, because Pluto can be about desire, to actually use your personal toolkit of experience by building your connections or working with people you know to try to take those hopes forwards. But on the 3rd, as I mentioned in my introduction, we do have that new moon. The annual Virgo new moon for you is an opportunity to set your intentions about what you want about relationships. But I think because of that confusing opposition between Neptune and Venus at the start of this month, it's also important to be mindful of what another person may expect of you. Because the best of relationships understand that it's not one-way traffic, it is give and take. And the new moon in the 7th house can be really good for that. People who have the moon in the 7th house of a natal chart, or where we put two charts together between two people, we've got an overlay and one person's moon is in the 7th house of the other person, that can be a very constructive and helpful thing. But there are some challenges with it. The moon in the 7th house can see people be almost too good at people pleasing and not so good at setting their boundaries. So is that something you need to think about in the early part of this month? Because although Mars moves into that incredibly dynamic location on the 4th for 8 weeks, which can do wonders for your sense of attractiveness, you could find yourself wanting to dance more, go out more, socialise and interact more. If you are single and you'd like to meet someone, Mars here can certainly spark you up in a big way. But as the Sun goes face to face with Saturn in your sign in week 2, if there is an imbalance in a relationship, whether you're giving too much or you feel that perhaps you're not getting enough, that can be something that really flags up for you. But on the 9th, as Mercury rewinds back into the sign of Virgo, some of the brittle tensions that may have been more to the fore recently can make way. Maybe someone's going to let you know in their own way how they see a situation. It might not be exactly as you do, but at least they're reaching into your position. Because the best relationships is about mutual understanding. It doesn't mean to say we have to agree. It's about seeing that someone else can see it differently and being okay with that. So I feel by the 11th and Mercury emerging from its post-retrograde shadow, something that's been really frustrating you about a relationship can at least be clarified. But the complications that can be caused by the lunar eclipse in your sign on the 18th are quite strong, because it's so supercharged by the energy of Neptune. Neptune and the moon together is a very sensitive influence, but it also means that your psychic powers are supercharged. And if there is still something around a relationship, a connection, or even a contract that you're not quite sure about, do trust your instincts, because one of the things that we can quite easily do is we overthink things, which is very Virgoian in a way, and don't listen to our hunches, which is very Piscean. So over the next 6 months around relationships, because that's how long this lunar eclipse is going to last for, don't ignore that sixth sense, because it won't fail you. Because often when we get involved with the wrong person, we look back on it in latter times, we can admit that, there was something there that I didn't quite take note of, because I really liked them and they were such great company to be with. I really fancied them. But there was that little bell ringing in the back of our minds. Or the same with a job, it was a really well-paid job, but I had a little bit of a feeling in the back of my mind that I didn't like the boss. We all do it because in some ways the logical part of our brains wants to meet our needs, which could be for sex, it can be for money, it can be for security and stability. And the instinctive part of our nature, which you're very strong on, is the part that sometimes people will in some ways mock. Bit like astrology. Well, why does astrology work? Well, those that really are into astrology know astrology works. Jonathan Cainer once famously said, which was very, very clever actually, he said, I don't know how my engine works in my car, but I know how to drive the car, or something to that, or some words to that effect, which I thought was very, very smart, because we don't entirely understand. We know it's something to do with gravitational pull, but that's what you could be faced with over the next 6 months. So if you do reach a point of clarity at the heart of this month with Mercury emerging from its post-retrograde shadow, all's well and good. But if you're still caught up in something that's captivating, has a great degree of mystique, but still you're utterly confused about that person or that situation, try to tune into your hunches, because once we have the autumnal equinox on the 22nd, that's your chance to really decipher what's truly meant. And that means understanding not necessarily what people are saying, but where they're coming from. And that in itself is quite a skill. The 23rd also, with Venus moving into the sign of Scorpio, can be another opportunity to get in touch with your truth. So we can hear what people say, we can want to give them the benefit of doubt. We know that no relationship is perfect, but somewhere deep within us we get a hunch for where we should stay in or not stay in. Let that guide you this month and also over the next 6 months from the time of that lunar eclipse. But as this month draws to a close, if you have been waiting for some news on a financial matter, maybe some investment, maybe a payout on a claim, perhaps something to do with a legacy or an inheritance, it could be good news on the very last day of this month as we have a Mercury cazimi. But it's a Mercury cazimi where Mercury's in its forward motion, so it's a superior conjunction, and the magnificence of the Sun in Libra, which of course is very much about balance. Technically the Sun is not at its best in Libra, it's a 4 because the Sun is exalted in Aries, so it's the opposite of Aries. And perhaps that's because Libran energy can be a little bit passive in some ways, but once a Libran is stirred, the cardinality, the more firmer energies can come out, rather more like the opposite sign of Aries. But there may be something towards the end of this month that you can get an accord on, and it could be something that gives you a lot of satisfaction to finally push something over the line. Have a great September, Pisces. Thank you so much for joining me. All the best and goodbye.